Hello, my name is Willie Wisely, and welcome to Watercolor Editions, a podcast that takes you deep inside a series of new recordings I've created, celebrating 40 years of being a songwriter. As I've created these new solo renditions, the memories of what inspired each song have come flooding back, and I wanted to share that with you as we played the new Watercolor Edition and the original studio version. So now, please, sit back and let me paint a picture for you. It was February 14th, 1996, and I'm broke. But I gotta take my girlfriend to dinner and afford her a gift for Valentine's Day. She was so classy, always so well put together, and she only shopped at the Oval Room, which was the couture store up on the 4th floor of Dayton's, a department store in downtown Minneapolis. And that was the place. I think she wound up working there, actually. Anyway, she had all the most beautiful clothes, which meant there was a problem. There was never anything that she wanted that I could afford. So the holidays were always a struggle for this poor boy. You know, this is about 4 years into our relationship, and I have to stop having these disappointing gifts for her on her birthday. So I thought, what can I give her that won't be pathetic? You know, something that's made of love and heart and time and effort. Well, dummy, a song, right? Let's write her a song. So this was the first time I ever assigned myself to write a song, along with a deadline for the dinner date on Valentine's Day. You know, so a few weeks out, I started working on it. And it actually came with some ease because the situation for the song was already planned. You know, it made sense to have a song that was sort of meta, to sing her a song in the restaurant about giving her a flower in the restaurant. I guess the part in the bridge about having sex in the limo with hot toddies was, that would have to be fictionalized because accounting struck the limo from the budget. Anyway, so here's how it worked out. We went to the restaurant on Southeast Main Street in Minneapolis. It overlooks the historic Mississippi River docks there, and it's really cool. It was a great restaurant. I think it was Italian, but I can't remember what it was called. It was nice because I'm blowing my last dime right. So after we were seated, I sort of furtively excused myself to go to the restroom, ran back out to the car, got my guitar, came back in, colluded with the maître d' to have the waiter bring the guitar to our table right before dessert. Everything was set. And we had our hors d'oeuvres, we had the salad, we had the entree, and then right before dessert, on cue, the waiter comes out to the table. The maître d' behind him being discreet, she whips out the guitar, and of course the dozen roses that I'd also remembered. And right there and then, I debuted the song in the packed restaurant on Valentine's Day night, directly to my girl. Here's Flowers for the Lady, Watercolor Editions, released just last week. Paint it, Willie.
Can I have some flowers for the lady? It's not a birthday or anniversary. Say waiter, well, can I get some flowers for my baby? 'Cause she's the sweetest thing I ever seen. I want a limo that runs on hot toddies, 'cause I'm blowing my last dime right. There better be room for something kind and naughty, 'cause the girl loves how this poor boy provides. See, waiter, let's have a round of flowers for the lady. Just pluck one off of that old maître d'. See, waiter, well, can I get a flower for my baby? 'Cause she's the only girl that's right for me. I'm blowing this last time right. There better be some leg room for something kind and naughty, 'cause the girl just loves how this here poor boy provides seaweed. Let's have a round of flowers for the lady. It ain't the 14th of February. Seaweed, oh, well, can I get one flower for my baby? 'Cause she's the only one that's right. The only girl the only one I need.
Now, that's probably pretty close to what it sounded like at the restaurant. The best part was literally that the whole place just shut down, all eyes on us. Everyone started listening, and all the neighboring tables clapped and cheered after I finished. It was so sweet. And had there been a limo, well, I don't think you have to use your imagination too much. It's right there in the bridge of the song. I think we would have needed a lot of leg room in that limo, if you know what I mean. I always like to point out something a little technical when I'm talking about songs. I want to put in something for the songwriters out there, or those of you kind of interested in what makes songs tick. And let's call this segment Willie's Timeout Corner, because it's so punishingly technical, right? Yeah, anyway. So for Flowers, I'll just give you a little tidbit here. The interesting thing is that there's no chorus in this song. It's just verses and bridges. And there's no big lift up to a singable chorus. And for a song that I believe is so intrinsically memorable, I think that's a really kind of contrary quirk. And I think it ultimately adds to the folksy quality, more like anybody can sing this, more in line with how a blues or a jazz song might be structured than a pop song. So no chorus for Flowers for the Lady. Now let's paint another picture for you and turn to the original album version and its recording session. Basic tracks were recorded on Wednesday, July 23rd, 1997, at Funky Town Studios, just west of downtown, right on what's now I-394, in a single-story 1960s commercial building with big open windows on the front. It seemed like the place used to be like a fancy carpeting store or something in the inner suburb way back when the highway wasn't quite a highway yet. Anyway, we recorded tracks onto a 2-inch tape, and I still have that tape. It's titled WW3 on the spine. That's because we had already filled up tapes WW1 and World War II with music. The song is masterfully, tastefully produced by John Strawberry Fields. So to start with, John put down a loop, and he had this loop in mind from his record collection. And ironically, it was a drum percussion break from a Marvin Gaye song. And footnote here, one of the biggest copyright infringement cases ever, and it resulted in tens of millions of dollars in restitution when Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines borrowed so heavily from Marvin Gaye's groove. Well, we avoided litigation, but kept the inspiration by working off that loop. And actually, to be honest, we left the loop in the mix on the original pressings of the album, but replaced it later for the digital age. These are the moments where you're lucky that you didn't have a huge hit, right? That you didn't have a Robin Thicke-sized hit. Bullet dodged. So John made some very cool decisions in producing this song. One was he decided not to use the lilting blues feel that I'd written the song with, but instead he said, let's goose this up to double time. So I would sing the lyric at the same pace, but the music behind me would be twice as fast. So this meant that most of my folksy acoustic guitar part, which had been the accompaniment while I wrote the song, it really wasn't required. So instead, John first cut a bass, and he ran that through a Korg G5 synth bass pedal. He tells me, I checked back in with him before I recorded this podcast. He's a big technical guru. Then he laid down this sassy electric guitar. This was all him playing to this plucky loop that we had created, over which I added some acoustic guitar riffs, some of my more important licks that I had written the song with. And then I sang the lead vocal, which I'm super proud of. It's super soulful for me, not my primary genre. And back then there was no auto-tune or anything, so check it out. I'm hitting the notes right. Anyway, probably a day later, I think, Brian Gallagher came in to track soprano sax and flute. Now, Brian, this was a brilliant stroke by John to bring horns in. It would have been so easy to add like a piano or an organ. That would have been sort of the obvious thing to do. But John kept it clean and left tons of space for Brian to take flight, really. Now, Brian, oh my God, on top of being one of the most handsome men I've ever met and having these soft doe eyes that you don't have to be a girl to want to just snuggle up with him. He was a member of Prince's New Power Generation. So can you imagine? And I think he actually cut a solo album of soft jazz instrumentals for NPG Records. I might be wrong on that, but nonetheless, you can imagine the depths of his talents playing for Prince, right? I mean, that's the level of musicians that John and Brian are. And sadly, we lost Brian in 2016, and really, really sad. And I'm so proud to have his gifts grace my albums. That's all I gotta say. All the way up to my latest album, Face the Sun. He's on the opening track, Sutures Loose. But I digress. So I remember John telling Brian through the glass to play like Phil Woods on Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are, which is so appropriate because that was another kind of perfect marriage of pop and jazz, right? So Brian goes in. He's a first take guy. He's a second take guy. I don't think we spent much time at all grabbing that beautiful solo. And I'm sorry, but it does harken back to Phil Woods. Then Brian overdubbed the flute and the saxophone stabs that are in harmony that go together on the last verse and the intro and the outro. And John and I, just laughed for joy because they were so beautiful going down in the control room. We just knew we had gold. So then lastly, John added this little background vocal flourish in the solo in his distinctive funky voice that he has. It always reminds me of Earth, Wind, and Fire, which I know is an important band to John and his influences. And the track was done. I called John before this podcast, and he's a succinct guy. He gets to the point. And he said, it came together quick. So, here it is, Flowers for the Lady, released a mere 11 weeks after its recording session. How's that? On 1997's Turbo Sherbert album, originally released on Minneapolis's October Records. Paint a picture for us, Willie.
Hey waiter, can I have a flower for the lady? It's not her birthday or anniversary. I say waiter, oh well, can I get some flowers for my baby? 'Cause she's the sweetest thing I've ever seen. I want a limo that runs on hot toddies, 'cause I'm a blowing my last time right. There better be room for something kinda naughty, 'cause a girl don't love how this poor boy provides. I say waiter, can I have a flower for the lady? I just pluck one off for that old maître dear. Say waiter, oh well, can I get a flower for my baby? 'Cause she's the only girl that's right by me. Flowers for the lady. I'm blowing my last time right. And there better be leg room for something kinda naughty, 'cause a girl doesn't love how this robot provides. Say, waiter, let's have a round of flowers for the lady. It's not the 14th of February. Oh, see, waiter, oh, we're looking, I get one flower for the lady. 'Cause she's the sweetest thing, man, I've done. A one man done. This man seen.
So there it is. Flowers for the Lady from my 1997 album Turbo Sherbert. I guess the funny twist here is that whenever I pick up a guitar anywhere near my mother-in-law, this is almost 30 years after writing the song, several girlfriends, and 18 years of happy marriage later, it's always my mother-in-law's first request. Well, that's all for this episode of Watercolor Editions. The very first episode, I might add. We're releasing this on the second week of February, so a happy Valentine's Day to you all, and a special shout to some of the people who helped bring Flowers for the Lady farther out into the world. Steven Greenberg, founder of October Records, a man who really believed in me, really believed in John Fields, and released a lot of Minneapolis music in the mid-90s. A real champion. And also to my buddy Jeff Gross and his girl Ashley, who always request Flowers for the Lady. All right, y'all. Love each other. And lastly, hit the subscribe button and tune in next time to Watercolor Editions when we'll put my song Cracked Worldview up on the easel. A song I wrote in 2006 when the U.S. invasion of Iraq was kind of heavy on my head. We'll paint that picture and play the new version and the original and chat it all down again on Watercolor Editions. I'm Willie Wisely. Thanks for listening.